Hello and welcome back to the Cast Without Fear. Yeah, the internet's best Daredevil only podcast with your hosts, me, Kurt Schmidt, and
And Ryan from Talking Snick.
what's what that's gonna eventually that's gonna get much smoother.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, yeah, I'll try. Um, what's up, Ryan? How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm coming from you, coming at you here from, as you can see, balmy Hell's Kitchen right behind me.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks good over there, man. It doesn't look like the apocalypse is going on anymore, huh?
Yeah, no crime or anything like that. You could see no orange skies, so that's a plus.
Yeah. Nice. Nice. I'm in the basement where every good comic fan resides.
At least it's not your mom's basement. It's your own basement, right? It's so that makes it a
It
man cave instead of a basement.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. A man cave, not a child's lair. I I recently the past couple of years tried to it's like a partially finished basement, right? So the family's kind of bitched and moaned like, "Hey, when are we gonna finish it?" I'm like, "Man, there's a million other things that's like low on the list." Oh, we do so much down there. So I just like painted the walls and the rafters and stuff, put up a TV and the Xbox, and then I got like all this crap. So I like push pins in the wall. Man, I decorated everything, and now everyone loves it, or at least the kids do. But it looks like, luckily, my interests are the same as like 10-year-old kids, which that does not sound right. It's a lot less creepy than what it sounded like right there. But yeah, because I'm a bit of a pack rat hoarder, so everything the walls. I'll have to maybe I'll do a tour one day or something. But I have like old I'm looking at like an old Jim Lee Wildcats ad, like from 90 whatever that there was, that 92 or something. Um, all kinds of like old posters and crap, toys. Uh, so yeah. Other than that, man, what's new? What's new and exciting with you?
Not really a whole lot, to be honest. Yeah, just been kind of taking it easy. The my kids right now are super into Harry Potter. That's their current obsession. So kind of been indulging them with that. I liked Harry Potter as it was coming out. I read all the books and everything. Like went to the midnight release parties at the Borders bookstores and got my copies, and read them right away. Devoured those things. So yeah, I wouldn't say I'm a Potterhead or anything, but a big fan of that franchise. So yeah, it was cool to get my kids into it. Finally, I tried getting them into it a few years back, and my younger son we got into like the third movie, and my younger son was like completely terrified by the dude that turns into a rat. Um, Not afraid of the werewolf, not afraid of the weird like demon things with the butthole mouths that suck your soul out. Like that didn't phase him at all. But the dude that turned into a rat, like that freaked him out. So we kind of went away from Harry Potter there for a while. And this summer they were like, "Hey, can we watch it?" Because they really like dragons. And they're like, "Hey, there's dragons in Harry Potter, right?" I'm like, "Well, like one of the movies has some dragons in it." They're like, "Let's watch them all." So yeah, that's pretty much what's new with me is like we're back into Harry Potter. Um,
Nice.
so yeah, it's been exciting. Otherwise, yeah, man, nothing. Just been working a lot lately, trying to put in several hours and stuff of overtime and all that.
Nice, nice. They're watching. Have they read the Harry Potter books?
No, I do own all of them on like books on tape, and I think they've listened to like the vast majority of all of them. But my older son, actually, after watching all the movies, I was like, dude, the books are better. And he's like, really? I'm like, well, I mean, the books are always better. There's like one exception that I know of, which is Forrest Gump, where the movie is like a million times better
Oh,
than the book was.
hmm.
Um, And so he's like, okay, well, do you think I should read them? And I was like, yeah, I mean, it's the summer, you got nothing else going on. So yeah, so he had a bunch of like Barnes and Noble gift cards that he's been hoarding for the last few holidays and whatnot. And so he bought all the books, like just like a paperback box set of all
Yeah,
7 books.
yeah.
And he's I think he's just about done with the second one. So he's been making his way through those.
Nice. Your kids are all big readers though, right?
Yeah, sort of. My older son, he'll read stuff. Like if I give him a comic or a book and I'm like, read this, he'll do it. My younger
Yeah.
son, not so much. He does like the books on tape. He thinks those are really cool. And like he'll put the like a book on tape and he'll play it on his device and then he'll play Legos while he's
Oh,
listening. So he made his way. I think he's actually listened to the first 2 books all the way through, and he would just like sit there and play Legos while he's listening. But my older son will read anything that I recommend him. Here, read this, and he'll do it. But
that's that's fun. My son, he's listened to like 3/4 of the way through the David Goggins book. Are you familiar with Goggins?
no,
No, he's mutual friend Brett Scott. He turned me on to Goggins, but he's big on YouTube and Instagram and stuff. He's a Navy SEAL, but it's all about like strong mind, and um his first book, it's like an autobiography and stuff, and he's really coarse. It's it's a little rough, man. But and my son's 10. Um, but I thought he'd I thought he'd be I thought he'd be able to get the gist, like the overall, like the theme of the book, the mindset stuff. But yeah, there's some choice language and stuff in there. But and I have it on Audible, and he was listening to that. It's funny because when like you said, playing with Legos, that's what he was listening to it while he was like building Lego sets and stuff.
oh nice.
Yeah, but we for like the past 4 years or so, we do like a summer reading challenge. So I make up a big like a poster board, and I'll do me and my 3 kids, and I'll do like 2 columns for each person, and it's a day and minutes. And now this year I've made it so it's like 20 minutes a day, and you just fill up like I got markers, and you just fill up the column. So it goes up, and by the end, like I don't know, you're reading like 1,000 minutes by the end of summer um, if you read every day or whatever, you know. So it's neat, and they've uh, usually 2 or 3, the 2 younger ones are usually pretty good about it. The older one, she's like good 1 year, not good the next, good 1 year, not. She comes and goes with that challenge, but it's fun, and it's a good, like they get a kick out of it. So you guys, it probably fit pretty well with you guys. I think it sounds like, at least.
Yeah, yeah, I should try that. That sounds cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, my younger son, I've gotten him to read some like Teen Titans Go comics, and I've actually had him. I've been able to get him into reading like Power Rangers comics. I had him read the like TMNT Power Rangers crossover. We're waiting for the second one to come out as a trade. And I had him read a bunch of like Go Go Power Rangers. I think one of the series from Dynamite. I think it's no Boom
Yeah.
Studios. I think puts it out. Um, yeah, we had a Comixology Unlimited membership for a little while there, so we had downloaded a bunch of stuff and he'd read that. But now we're back over to Marvel Unlimited, so I think he's actually read some Gwenpool.
Oh,
But
cool.
he doesn't read too often, but he'll read like funny comics and stuff. He's read some
That,
Usagi, of course.
Oh, nice.
I pushed that on him. My older son's read
Uh,
all of Usagi like me.
Oh,
My younger son's he's read quite a bit, but I don't even think he's halfway through the whole saga or anything. He just kind of reads it when it tickles him, and he'll
yeah.
go and grab and read, but he's not as big of a reader as my older son is.
My middle daughter, she's the biggest reader of the bunch. Um, and man, she's read a lot. She's read all of Invincible. Invincible might be her favorite um, of all time. Have you read Invincible?
No, I've only watched
No.
the first season of the animated series. I think I read the first issue.
Yeah.
Um,
I haven't
but
wa
yeah, I've not read it.
I haven't watched it. But I guess it's pretty good. I think it's pretty close to the comic. It's pretty graphic, but I don't know. I I don't have too much of a hard time with that, with at least with the comics and stuff. The watching stuff, I'm a little bit more strict on, but the comic reading, I'm a lot more lax with. Um, but she like devoured Invincible, so she read all of that. She's read the first omnibus of the Claremont X-Men, and like she got halfway through the second one and then couldn't, like, she was, I don't know, I think she just lost interest with it. A lot of Supergirl stuff, a lot, dude, like almost whatever I put in front of her, she'll read. But much like her old man, she doesn't remember a whole lot. she she reads it, and then I'll ask her about it, and I'll ask her about some characters, and she's like, "Who's that?" Like, what? But then
The main guy. What do you?
yeah, yeah, other things is, some things will stick, and then other things just like completely out. But whatever. I'm not much different. I'm not much better, at
Yeah.
least.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. And then my son, he's the youngest. He's like you said with yours, a lot of the funny stuff. Like he likes Big Nate, and whatever what's the scholastic stuff, like the Diary of a Wimpy Kid, or man, there's the other one that's really big. Um, I can't remember, but it's huge with the kids. There's like the two biggest comics or graphic novel things is what, Raina Telgemeier and somebody, and like the other one that makes hardcover books. I can't remember what they are, but they're
Yeah.
like yeah, I'm sure you know them if you saw them. But yeah, that's that's what we got going on here.
Nice. Yeah, no, my kids got into like Captain Underpants for a while.
Captain
Um,
Underpants, yeah.
they liked that. They liked Dog Man.
That's the
Sorry,
one
I'm
I'm
trying to
thinking
get
of.
the
Dog
light
Man.
going here. Yeah,
Dog Man is what I'm
they
thinking
liked
of.
those. And then they liked Last Kids on Earth. I'd gotten my older son
Oh,
that
okay.
one, and they liked that as well. They liked that too. And then of course there was like a Netflix animated series, I mean, maybe
Yeah.
2 seasons. They liked that, so they read that. And then yeah, I started my son on like Usagi. I think was like the first main comic that I had him read, and he was like, "Wow, comics are awesome. This is even better than like Captain Underpants was." I'm like, "Well, yeah,
Yeah.
but." And then from there, yeah, I've had him read some quite a bit of Spider-Man stuff. Well, not quite a bit, but I've had him read a bunch of Spider-Man. He likes that, and yeah, I don't know. It's like I said, he'll read if I give him stuff to read. He'll read it, but otherwise, he doesn't really do a whole lot of. He's actually writing a story right now. Every time I walk into his room, he's on his phone, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" And he like turns his phone around, and he's on his notes app, and he's got
Yeah.
just this like massive
That's
story thing that he's written. I'm like, "What are you doing?" He's like, I'm writing a book," and I was like, "Oh,
that's
all
awesome.
right." Yeah, I think it's one of the characters that he created for one of his D&D campaigns. He's like, I want to tell this guy's story, so he's been writing this guy's story. um, yeah, he's had a lot of fun with that.
That's cool. The apple doesn't fall far,
Yeah, I guess not.
huh? Yeah. I my oldest, if I give her something, if I put it in front of her and it's like, hey, read this, she usually will. Um, she'll be 17 next month or a couple weeks. The last thing I remember putting in front of her was Saga, and she like, I'm like, just read it, you'll like it. And man, she flew through that one too. I don't know if you've ever read Saga.
Mm.
That's another graphic one. um, but yeah, that was she flew through that like 50 issues in like a week, man. And and it was like, oh, where's the next one? Like, oh, there isn't. Like they're on a year-long hiatus. And she's like, what? Why I gotta wait a whole year? And I'm like, yeah, for like the next issue. And she's like, what? The next issue? Like, yeah, yeah, you just read like 3 years of comic books or 4 years of comic books in 5 days.
Ouch.
Yeah, yeah. That's I should be giving her some of this stuff, man. I think I logged like 50 minutes reading Spider-Man 16. Jesus.
Yeah, really. That's
Yeah.
the one thing that my son doesn't like to read if I give it to him is anything written by Claremont. And I'm like, oh, dude, you're
Oh,
breaking my heart. He's like, there's too many words. It sucks.
yeah. Yeah. Claremont's rough. Man, the more I read this stuff, the more I realize that's going to be, I think, one of our upcoming top fives. I got a couple ideas, um, but I love Stan Lee's writing. I am probably like I feel like I'm one of the few, man, but I really love it. I got a couple. I know I got at least one note, um, but I probably have a few with how much I love his writing. I think it's been very influential on me and whatever. It's probably why I don't write much because when I do, I like it takes me forever and I'm just constantly adding adjectives to stuff. I read this and it's like, oh my God, it feels like I wrote this.
Or you're describing the action that's taking place on the panel, where it's like
Yes.
Daredevil's leaping off of a building and we get like a word, like a narration box. It's like, and Matt, who is disguised as the crime fighting flying man Daredevil, has leapt off the building. And it's like, why are you
Yeah.
telling me this, man? I can
Yeah.
see what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's for the maybe the blind man that is reading Daredevil. He picked up the issue because he heard. He's got to be descriptive, just like Foggy and Karen. Like they've always got to be describing everything to Matt. I think that's where they get her from. They get her from Papa Stan.
Oh man. Yeah, I don't think Stan Lee had the foresight of thinking like, oh yeah, they're gonna have we're gonna have captions and audio comics someday. So the blind people are gonna want to hear about the blind superhero Daredevil.
No, yeah, yeah, I don't think so, right? Um, yeah. So I guess with that, why don't we jump in and start with Stan Lee's second take at Daredevil here.
Yeah, all right. So Stan Lee's sophomore, I don't know, sophomore issue, I guess. So on the last episode of this series, we covered the first Daredevil, and so we're going to continue that here. Although we're going to be covering several issues in each episode from here on out. So kind of like a smaller summary of just kind of the main parts of each issue, and we'll go through like I think we're going through 8 issues today. So yeah, to pick up with issue number 2, This is at the end of last issue. We were promised that in the next issue, Daredevil would finally be taking on a supervillain. You know, he's going to take his rightful place as Marvel's newest superhero by taking on one of their most dangerous supervillains. And it's Electro. They don't really bury the lead. He's right there on the cover. And of course, we have a new artist with this issue. Unfortunately, Bill Everett lasted the whole one issue, which is too bad because no offense to the artist on this issue, but I do think it's a big step down from Bill Everett. I hate to say it. It's not to throw shade at this guy because I can't draw even half as good, even an eighth as good as this. But still, it's a big step down from Bill Everett, and that is Joe Orlando. Joe Orlando has come on the book to be the new artist. So it starts off with the Fantastic Four. Apparently, they are having some issues renewing their lease at the Baxter Building, and they need a lawyer to perform a building inspection for some reason. I guess in the state of New York, they don't actually have building inspectors; they just have shysters go out and do it. To use the thing's parlance here. But the thing shows up. I love how he just like breaks through the wall or the door, just like breaks the door in half, off the hinges and all that. But yeah, he comes in and he asks the law office of Nelson and Murdoch if either of them can be his lawyer. And so Foggy Nelson kind of passes it off to Matt Murdock, who's like, yeah, sure, I'll stop by the building, do the inspection, and get the sign off. And so the thing's like, hey, great, that sounds wonderful. And so the Fantastic Four, they head off in their Fantastic car, and Matt Murdock throws on his Daredevil costume because he can get across the city much faster as Double D than he can as Matt Murdock in a taxi. So he goes over, he busts up a car theft ring really quick that like Electro was secretly involved in. So Electro heads off, and Matt Murdock swings back by his office really quick to get nagged by Karen Page into undergoing eye surgery to see if he can't get his sight restored. And then he's like, get off my back. And he heads off to the Baxter building. When he arrives at the Baxter building, he realizes that Electro is in there. So Matt Murdock as Daredevil, goes into the Baxter building, fights against Electro, who is then able to trick Matt into entering a space shuttle, or I guess a rocket, which Electro then launches into space. Which I just love that, like, classic Silver Age story. Superhero gets duped into entering a rocket, which is then launched into space. Oh, I love it. I love how the switch to launch it is like a foot outside the door. Like they close the door and there's like a lever, and he just throws the lever right there. Like
Yeah.
you got to think that whoever would be throwing that lever in the instance that this thing would be taking off is going to be just incinerated by like for when the thing launches, like the heat from the thrusters and stuff. Like I've seen launches on TV. There's all kinds of smoke, and I'm sure it's really hot there. But yeah,
Yeah.
Electro, he just pulls the lever, it launches the freaking rocket into space. And Daredevil's like, gee, I must be in outer space in a rocket now. My senses are telling me that I'm no longer on Earth. Somehow he manages to find his way to the control panel, and I think he just touches the control panel, and his heightened senses are able to like figure out the wiring underneath. And he's like, oh, this lever is obviously how I change the speed, and this one is how I change the direction. And of course, because he's blind and he has these heightened senses, he has an unfallible internal compass, which will always tell him which way is true north. Even when he's in space, it will tell him the magnetic north pole of Earth is that way. So he's able to turn the spaceship around, re-enter Earth's atmosphere, land safely in like Central Park, and then he hijacks like a horse,
Yeah.
rides all the way back to the Baxter building, beats Electro, gets back to the law office of Nelson and Murdoch not in time, and he loses the business of the Fantastic Four. And that is issue number 2 of Daredevil.
Yeah, you flew through that, man, because there's, oh God, it is so corny. This stuff, you passed over like, I don't know. I'll drag it out then. he he hops he hitches a ride with the helicopter sightseeing company. Did you? Yeah, I think you skipped over that.
Yeah, I
Oh
passed that
man,
one. I'm
yeah,
sure he I'm
yeah.
sure he
There's
swings from a flagpole or two that I skipped over. We're supposed to keep our
yes,
tally. I totally forgot.
yes. There's a flag. He jumps after he lands the rocket in Central Park and steals the handsome cab's horse. He leaps off the horse and swings from a flagpole to and next thing he's on a roof where he hitches a ride with his cane on the bottom on the landing gear of a helicopter. Oh man,
All right, I
these
got my
issues.
tally going.
um, yeah, the artwork isn't great. I'm gonna chalk that up to Vince Colletta because I think nobody likes Vince Coletta's inking. I think he's the one that everyone says he ruins Kirby.
Oh
Is
wow,
that Vince
okay.
Colletta? I don't know. I can't keep these old guys' names straight.
Ouch.
I think the very first page I think is really good, but it's more of a pin-up. I like that. I love that Daredevil and that front. That's that's a really nice like pin-up pose. But yeah,
Yeah.
you did good. It's I think this issue is skippable.
Yeah. For his first battle against a supervillain, and it's like one of Spider-Man's villains. And yeah, this one's definitely skippable. We also get just like typical Stan Lee female character, which is like
Mhm.
naggy, busybody woman character from The Office. I really don't like Karen Page in this issue. Um, like it's, I guess, I don't know. It's like she takes pity on Matt because he's blind and stuff, which I mean, I guess that's fine, but like I'm sure that a blind person, like, they don't want your pity, like they don't want to be treated like they're, I don't know. It's just the way she
Yeah.
talks to him is like she makes it almost sound like because you're disabled, you're like you're not good enough. Like you're not going to be good enough as a human being until you get your sight back. Otherwise, you're just a liability as a person. Like I don't know. Her attitude towards Matt's blindness. It's like, come on, it's Matt Murdock. He's one of the most capable people in the Marvel universe, even outside of the Daredevil costume. He's
Yeah.
freaking awesome. Like let the guy be. Like he's better at being a human being than like most people are that have all 5 of their senses. But yeah,
I,
she sure does nag him, and it starts in this issue.
I think Stan is pushing subconsciously. He is saying, who truly is the blind one? Matt Murdock, who cannot see, or Karen Page, who cannot see past his disabilities? Some
I don't know.
food for thought.
Is Stan
I'd love
that deep? I don't know.
put Stan. Oh, is Stan that deep? Please put your post the comments in the comment section. I want to know what you think. Is Stan that deep? Yeah, of course he is, man. This isn't an accident. The Professor X Magneto MLK Malcolm X, is that by accident? No, I think not. Yeah, I don't know. That is funny. I think that's Karen Page's story for like every issue.
Yeah,
Um, yeah.
it's the same. It's the same character arc that Gwen Stacy has and Aunt May
Hmm.
has, which is we're gonna be the women who just nag and henpeck our heroes.
Hmm.
Because that's everything, every interaction that Aunt May has or that Peter has with Aunt May is Aunt May being like, "Oh, but Peter, you have such a fragile disposition. I was worried you would have had a fright and taken a tumble." Like that's every interaction that Peter has with Aunt May. And then once he starts dating Gwen Stacy, it's the same thing that he has with her. And then when they're all three of them together, they're just both of them are like, "Peter, maybe you should lie down. You're liable to fainting." He's like,
Yeah.
"Dude, I'm the Spider-Man, ladies. Come on."
It's funny that you should bring up Aunt May nagging Peter, because the next issue up for us, it just so happens to be Amazing Spider-Man number 16, which stars Daredevil, and I didn't realize it till right now, but I mean, I know, like, hearing the history and stuff, that Spider-Man was huge, right? But I think this puts it in a whole new perspective for me, um, because at the very first issue of Daredevil, like it right underneath Daredevil is Spider-Man, and it's like, remember when we introduced Spider-Man? Then the second issue we get one of Spider-Man's villains, um, and then Daredevil's third appearance, between the publication dates of the second and third issue, is Amazing Spider-Man 16, where Spidey battles Daredevil. And I'm gonna pick up my massive book. Boom!
Ooh.
It's a cool cover.
Oh, look at that.
Um,
That's awesome.
yeah, yeah. Have you not seen that one before?
I
It's
mean, I've read the issue on Marvel Unlimited
yeah,
for sure, but yeah, it's
it's
been
cool.
years since I read the
Yeah,
Stan Lee's Spider-Man run.
yeah. It's good. Um, And man, this I know I said the last, I may hopefully that by the next episode of ours I can figure out how to do the video, because I really wanted to show off this book. I was telling you about it, and I know I shared it in the Talking Snake Discord. This Amazing Spider-Man, I think it's called the XXL, by Taschen Publishing. This book is humongous. I'm going to compare it to the Masterworks here that I have, and like, look at that.
Gosh,
It's
that's
huge.
awesome. It's like as big as your
Yeah,
torso, man. Like you hold it up to
it
your chest
is.
and it's like your whole chest.
It like covers, like, yeah.
Dang.
I'm just like a floating head. Look at like how it's huge. You know what? I have I have a, it's not going to be off topic. I'm going to make it on topic. I have Mazzucchelli's the Daredevil Born Again Artist Edition, right? Have you heard of the artist editions?
No, I don't think
The
so.
no? Oh my God, these things are humongous reprints. They reprint the original art at its full scale.
Oh, okay, okay, yeah, all right.
S- So they're full scale reprints of their art, and the artwork is 11 by 17 pages, right? But like, look at, it's practically the same. Like, this Spider-Man reprint is practically the same size as like the original artwork. It's
Wow.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is something else, man. And then they when they reprinted it, the pages, like the cover, the cover is like this nice glossy cover, like it would be, and then the inside, the regular pages is like a newsprint page. If you can
Hmm.
tell that, like, you can see the light kind of reflecting off of it. I can't even hold this thing up without, like, it's massive.
Nice.
Um, Yeah, and these things, I forget how much they are. They're like a small fortune. I want to say that they're either like, it's either a $200 cover or a $100 cover. I think it's a $200 cover price, but I bought it on, it was like a flash sale where it was like 50% off. And then I felt like I could justify it. Um, but man, like, after flipping through this and reading some stuff in here, like, I want to buy every one of them, because it's really, they reprint everything, all the ads. That's one of the biggest things I like about that drives me to get the floppy comics, as I like the ads. I love seeing the ads with the muscle men and stuff,
Oh yeah.
the strong guys,
Atlas bodies,
and
yeah.
yeah, I love seeing that stuff, man. And then you get like they've got all the the letters page in the back and everything. It's cool. They reprint everything. So, but anyways, getting back to the story. This here published in it's dated September of '64. Amazing Spider-Man 16. Stan Lee, Steve Ditko, letters by S. Rosen. I think S. Rosen does all of them. I don't know what S is. Steve, Sam. Um, I don't know any other S names,
Hmm.
but S. Uh, Duel with Daredevil is the title. On the first page in, you've got Aunt May talking up Mary Jane. It's kind of fun. The first word, like the first speech bubble. But why won't you call Mary Jane Watson? I'm sure you'd like her if you dated her. But I've got a girlfriend, Aunt May. I don't want any blind dates. And then
Yeah.
he leaves because she's just nagging him. Um, so yeah, that sets it up. He leaves, and some hooligans are running out of a bank with some sacks of cash, and they come across some blind guy walking down the street, and one of the hooligans is like, "Look, a blind man. He might have heard our voices. We can't leave him here to identify us later." Yeah, because
Yeah.
that's what's going to happen, right? The blind guy's gonna like the sound police lineup. I've never seen that before. Um, I, I didn't think about that till now. Like, can you imagine that? Like they have like five guys, and they all what do they say? They just the police officer just like everybody say hello, and like they're
Yeah.
not just like one guy's not like hello, like how, it doesn't. Stan, I was just talking him up, man. What is he doing? Um,
Underestimating criminals, apparently.
yeah. So Spider-Man drops in, and man, the art. See, we're like missing out. The artwork. Look at that panel, man. I love that. Like Spider-Man is hanging upside down. That's awesome. That's like I feel like it's in the recent past I've seen more like snippets of of Ditko's artwork, and not some. I haven't read his stuff in a while, but reading this, I'm like, holy shit, man! This stuff it looks good. There's some like wonky things here and there where it doesn't look right, but for the most part, man, this is, I don't know, pretty damn good. Um, so Spider-Man drops in, saves the day, gives some advice to the blind guy, like you better watch where you walk or whatever. Um, Matt Murdock, uh, Daredevil. Once Peter gives his advice, Matt's like, "Oh, I'm running late. I better change into my Daredevil costume so I could get across town faster." Then Daredevil swings through New York City, literally telling the readers his abilities. Like it's not like the panels. It's speech balloons, word balloons, speech balloons. Jesus, there's word balloons. So I don't know who he's talking. He's talking directly to us, telling us what his powers are. It's great, but this is a Spider-Man comic. You have no idea who this guy is, right? Um, so in that mindset, it fits. And like it's 4 pages in. 4 pages in, we got nagging at me. We got action. We've been introduced to Matt Murdock, and now we have the Ringmaster, who we get a little editor's note that he was first appearance in the Hulk magazine, now discontinued, issue number 3. That's
Hmm.
kind of neat. Um, so the ringleader, he's having a circus in town, promoting Spider-Man. Foggy and Karen Page are going, and they invite Matt. they get there, and the ringmaster uses his hypnosis. That's his power, right? So he hypnotizes everybody. But in order for the hypnosis to work, you got to be able to see the rings, right? Because that's how hypnosis is. It's rings.
Yep, you got to
Well,
see them. Yeah.
you got to see it. And Matt, he doesn't. He's blind, right? So he doesn't see this. Spider-Man's there. Spider-Man gets in the trance too. So the ringmaster's controlling Spider-Man the whole time. That's how we get that's how we get the good guys to fight each other. There's a nice little back and forth with the guys here. Um, Matt taught his radar sense informs him of hanging objects nearby. My radar sense informs me of objects hanging nearby, and my logic knows that they must be trapezes. How can you argue with that? It's perfect sense. Um, uh, the this is one of my notes with the panel descriptions, right? A second later, guided by the sound of a still shaking hat, fearless Daredevil hurls his all-purpose Billy Club cane with a nearing accuracy. Man, that is beautiful writing there, man. I love
Superfluous.
it. Yeah, man, he paints a picture. I don't need the artwork, man. That paints a picture there. It's beautiful. I don't know. I love that. Like there's he Fearless Daredevil, like yeah, that's he fits the whole title into that, right? It's like poetry. Poetry, man. Um so and I don't know what so that was the hat. Daredevil grabs the hat, figures out with his senses how it works. He breaks the spell with Spider-Man. Now, like he leaves it's Spider-Man's title, right? This is just Daredevil co-starring. So Daredevil goes back in the stands, leaves Spider-Man to clean up the mess. Um, and yeah, Spider-Man like he battles the circus people. It's pretty entertaining. There, I especially love page 18, the last panel. Spider-Man says, "But I'm afraid I'll have to be leaving now. I forgot my union card, and I don't want the rest of the acrobats to pick at me." I love that. For anyone in the audience that doesn't know me personally, which is I don't know, probably I'd say everybody, but I kind of think that the only people watching are going to be friends or family. Um, I'm a union electrician, so I love that. It hits home for me. But then I also know, and you being the X-Men fan, uh, I remember. I think it might have been Eunice or the Stranger. Remember one of those early X-Men issues where I want to say there was something with the library. I don't know. Like the X-Men had to go to Europe. They had to do something, but they couldn't fill up the gas tank, I think, in the car, or they needed plane tickets. So they had to get jobs on a construction site, but then when it came time to get paid, they couldn't get paid because they weren't union members. You don't
Yeah,
remember that?
I'm sure that would have went right over my head.
Oh my God, Ryan, Jesus, you're the X-Men guy.
I'd have been like unions. Pass. I was
Pass.
what is it? Oh, crap. What was the? I was UFCW for like 7 years. Not a big fan.
Oh no, I'm not a big fan. Oh man. All right, that's probably going down the lines of the political talk that we don't need to get into. But but I love man, Stan like maybe that's why I love Stan. Like he's a union guy. Good for him.
Just as long as the writers and artists aren't unionized.
Yeah, maybe yeah, I guess, right? Um, that's funny. Uh, yeah, so then if Spider-Man he beats everybody, right? Um, there's man, the artwork is so good in this. There's some panels all the way at the end, page 21. I really love, man, I wish I could show this better off. I really love this panel here. Like this head tilted up, like the way that's tilted up, like this guy laying down in the foreground there. Um, Man, I looked at that panel for so long because it's the artwork in this is far and away better than the majority of these Daredevil issues that were being given. But
Oh yeah. Well,
yeah,
Ditko's good. Ditko's one of my favorite Silver Age guys from Marvel. Um, Especially his work on Spider-Man is really good. Of course, I feel like Romita is even better when he takes over the book. But yeah, Ditko is amazing.
yeah, yeah, he's great. Yeah, and then so then that's it. There we get the very last page. Oh, I do want to say that it when Spider-Man sorry, I know I'm having too much fun talking about this issue to make it short. Uh, this ends. I don't know where Scooby-Doo lands in the history of this stuff, but this ends like Scooby-Doo. The ringmaster says, "Blast you, Spider-Man! If not for your interference, along with that masked Daredevil, I'd have succeeded." Like, it's Spider-Man's wearing his cap, and he's like, "Dream on, Mister. That's what they all say."
That's
It's
awesome.
Scooby-Doo, man. Yeah, right. Um, there's one. Oh, where is this, man? There's one letter I want to read. Uh, and where he was talking about girls. Like this guy there's somebody here that's like, there's too many girls. Dear Stan and Steve, today I read the latest issue of Spider-Man and FF. They were both okay, except that in some parts both magazines got it too mushy. Girls are okay in their own place, I always say. How would you like your magazines to be called? The Marvel Age of Henpecked Superheroes. So so please get Betty out of Spider-Man and keep Sue just the Invisible Girl, not Mrs. Reed Richards.
Wow.
Uh, yeah.
Yeah, I'd forgot about
Oh,
Betty. She's another one that was like, Peter, your gentle disposition. Are you sure you can handle the strain and the excitement of, I don't know,
yeah.
walking to the corner store?
That's so the girlfriend that Spider-Man's talking about earlier in this issue, that's Betty.
Yeah.
Because he slips up. He's telling Triple J, right? Um, he's telling him, "Hey, can I have the night off? I want to go to the circus." And he's like, "I don't care. Go do whatever the hell you want. Just don't give me any more pictures of that blasted Spider-Man." And 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 Betty's standing there like, "Oh, what are you doing tonight?" And he like just drops the ticket, like it falls out of his pocket, and he's like, "Oh, I got plans, sorry." And then she goes off crying because she thinks he's going out with another girl. Yeah, it's
Oh.
uh, it's so funny, man. These
All right, so if this is issue 16, right? That means Spider-Man Peter hasn't graduated high school yet, right? I think that's like issue 18
he's
is when he graduates, right?
I think so. Daredevil deduced he's 17 years old too, by the way, with his powers. I think
So
his heartbeat was that of a 17-year-old boy.
okay, all right, sure, yeah. I just like that 17-year-old nerd Peter Parker is able to pull Betty Brant as a girlfriend and still manages to be like a heartless jerk to her. But it's because he's a child and he wants to go to the circus and he's too afraid to ask his adult girlfriend to go to the circus with him. I love it.
Yeah, it's it's great, man. It's great. Yeah, he's a child. He's I love the way people dressed back then, man. Whether it's watching everything for me, and I have a feeling most things for you too relate back to either baseball or comic books. But like Peter Parker here, he's 17 years old. He's got a job, and he's wearing a suit. Like he's got a suit and tie.
Yeah.
He's not graduating. It's not his first Holy Communion. Like, that's the only times I had a suit. Yeah, yeah, he's 17 years old with a suit, man. And then yeah, baseball. I'm gonna tie it back to baseball. Baseball games. You watch those old videos, and everybody's wearing a suit to the ball game. You know,
Oh yeah.
now like you're lucky to find people with their shirts on.
We're wearing a full suit to the game with a smoking a cigar in your like
Yeah,
fourth row seat.
yeah, right.
Smoking a cigar, drinking a brandy, watching the boys play.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man, the good old time, good old days, right? They're all they're all wearing suits to the circus. They've all got suits and ties at the circus. Man, the next time, well, I don't think they have circuses anymore. I was gonna say the next time we go to a circus, I'm gonna wear a suit and tie.
Full suit and tie, yeah. And but it has
Yeah,
to be
the
like a
next.
green plaid suit. Like it can't be a nice suit. It has to be a really cheap, terrible suit. Like go to J.C. Penney and buy the worst suit that they have.
Yeah, that's yeah, right.
Or they
The
probably
only
got
people.
theirs at Woolworths or Montgomery Ward's or
What?
something like that. You know?
The, the only people that aren't in suits are the crooks. They're the
Well,
only ones not in suits.
that's about to change when we get to Daredevil #3.
Oh,
There's some
wow,
suit
look at
wearing
that.
goons in this one.
Man, look at that segue. Holy moly.
All right, so so I'll jump into Daredevil #3. Again, Stan Lee and Joe Orlando, Vince Coletta, and S. Rose. I think you're right. I think it's Sam Rosen, but I might be confused. Like a baseball player named Sam Rosen,
Yeah.
and it's like Seth or Scott or something like that. And I'm like, nah, it's Sam Rosen for sure. So this one we finally get like our first real Daredevil villain, right? Like obviously we had the Fixer in the first issue, but like now we're getting into the original Daredevil supervillains, and we are given the Owl, also known as the ominous overlord of crime. I like that it's dubbed a movie length action thriller. It's like 18 pages of comic book. Um, but movie length, you know? Like, can you imagine nowadays if they were adapting a single issue of a comic book into a superhero movie? It would be like a 40-minute long movie, and that would be and it would be done.
Man, it took me about movie length to read this issue, I think.
Fair enough. And movies were shorter back then too. You had like 80 minutes for a
Yeah.
drama. But yeah, so like I said, it's our introduction to the Owl, who I love, by the way. I love the Owl, and I love this issue. There's a lot that I skip over because I just took bullet point notes of like all the important, turn of events and stuff. But there are some individual things I do want to call out. But first, let's get into the story. It starts off, we are following the Owl into his office where he works, and we're introduced to his I guess accountant George Gray. And the very first thing that the Owl does is tells George Gray that the Owl has framed him for all of the financial crimes that the Owl has been committing. And the dude then dies mysteriously. He seems to have fallen from the top of this building as Daredevil happens to be swinging by. We have right here on page 3, it looks like there's another flagpole. There's another Daredevil flagpole, so I'm going to throw another tally in here.
Nice.
But
For
as he's swinging by, there's like a dead body on the street, and there's even blood. Like they show the blood. It's crazy. For yes, there it is. For a
yes.
comic that came out at the end of 1964, we've got like blood around a corpse.
It's wild, man. It's yeah, that's striking. That swinging from the flagpole, if you're just looking at the artwork, it looks like the guy walking out and then he's screaming "wee" as he like jumps off the building. That's what it looks like.
That's what it looks like. Yeah.
He's all depressed and then he's like "wee."
Yeah, I think the
Why does
first time we
Daredevil go
tried,
"wee"?
that's the siren, man.
Oh,
You,
that's the siren.
Yes, if you read the caption, Daredevil's swinging, and it says "wee," and then you read it and it says a siren spells trouble.
I I still read that. I don't know. The piercing wail of a siren as he leaps into spellbinding action. I think that's, man. Okay. Maybe that's the thing. I don't know. This S. Rosen, man, he failed there. He should have done something different with the lettering, because I read that as Daredevil screaming "wee," or
Wee.
now Daredevil. At first, I thought it was this poor
The dude jumping.
Seb, the dude jumping.
Yeah, these three panels are very confusing as to what's going on. And I guess this is like the one time where it's like, thank God for Stan's narration here to kind of get us through these really confusing panels.
Yeah.
But yeah, the police are like, oh, this is George Gray. He works for the Owl. So they arrest the Owl right away. And the Owl just like picks the name of an attorney out of the newspaper. And it just so happens to be Nelson and Murdoch. So Matt shows up. He gets him off, I think, on like a technicality or whatever. Or he gets him off like without bail, or I don't. He gets him off somehow, and there's like a future date where they has to come back to the court, whatever. I don't know. Matt gets him to do like a deferred hearing or something. I don't know. Either way, uh, I guess Matt. Let's see. Matt goes back to the office and picks up his clothes, which he puts in his new like handy dandy like cape backpack thing. So new Daredevil technological creation there. And then we go check in with the owl at his owl cave, which is like across one of the rivers in New York where there's like a mountain, and on the mountain is a building literally in the shape of an owl. There you go. It looks like Owlman's ship from Watchmen is just parked there. Or was it, no, it was Night Owl in Watchmen.
I
I don't,
know.
it's been a while since I've read it. Not Owlman. Um,
No,
and yeah,
that would be Mega Man's villain.
yeah, I just love how the owl lives in a building that's shaped like an owl. Like, that probably cost like $400,000 back in like 1957
Yeah.
to build. Adjusted for inflation, that'd be like $5 billion now. Uh,
It looks, yeah, right. It looks like he's sitting on an owl throne, and he's got an owl on his shoulder. He's gone heavy on the owlness, right?
I'm surprised it's not like sitting in his arm and he's like stroking it like Blofeld, But he's holding like tryouts for these two goons that he hires who are suit-clad goons. So there you go.
Okay.
They've got suits, they've got ties. They're quite dapper for
Mhm.
run-of-the-mill hired goons. One of them is like a quick shot, and one of them is strong enough to wrestle a gorilla. So he hires these goons, and he heads back into New York. Meanwhile, we check in with Matt Murdock, who again is being harassed incessantly by Karen Page. She even says here on page 12, Mr. Murdoch, I know you don't like me to mention this, but I can't stop wishing you'd change your mind about not wanting an eye operation. If there's a chance of your regaining your sight, isn't it worth taking? And he's like, and I love that, like, it's not like a regular response or a calm response. He says, I know you mean well, Karen, and I appreciate it, but I've learned to live with my affliction. Like everything is an exclamation point here. Like he's emphatically telling her, leave me the hell alone, lady.
This whole page is exclamation points. The whole
Yeah.
page.
Yes, it
They are
is.
just, they are
Oh my gosh.
screaming at each other. The whole, he's screaming at her in his thoughts. Those are thought balloons. She's screaming at him like,
Oh
yeah,
man.
this is, yeah, they've gone heavy on the melodrama here, man.
Yes, it's like these are not people just having a regular conversation. Like this isn't Charlie Cox and
No,
Deborah Ann Woll having like a
no.
very intimate, like quiet conversation. Like no, this is this is like 1950s radio. We have to yell everything just so you can hear it. Like, you ever listen to the old
Yeah,
like Twilight episodes where everyone just yells at each other? Like, that's what I'm getting from this.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I
and the artwork is terrible, man. The perspectives are terrible. Karen, I'm sure it was the style at the time, the beehive haircut or whatever you call that. Like the last issue, Ditko, like, man, she looks good. Matt looked good. This issue, they look horrible. It looks like it looks like a terrible romance comic or something. I'm sorry, man. I don't know. Orlando, whoever it was, Coletta.
yeah.
It's bad. The perspective is bad too. That I don't know if I think you're looking at it like that middle panel, like her hair and head is humongous, and then Matt is like tiny. He's like an
Mhm.
angel on her shoulder. It's I don't know, man. It's
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah, it's not good. Not good. Huge
Yeah.
step down from Everett.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, just not good. Anyway, so Foggy heads out and Karen heads out too. And I gotta say, like, Foggy's still just being drawn as like a regular, fit
Hmm.
dude. Um, so I'm curious to see when it shows up where he's like the rotund Foggy that we all know and love. Because right now he's just a regular guy. He's just there, and his clothes fit him nicely and all that. And Matt leaves as well, but he's like, oh, I was hearing whispering in the office next door, which is like shouting to my senses. And Matt busts through the window. Oh, I guess Daredevil technically busts through the window, and the owl and his goons are in there. I don't know what they were doing. I don't know if they were like waiting to ambush Matt. They weren't in his office. They were in the office next door. But he immediately starts fighting the goons and starts fighting the owl. And then Karen is thinking like, "Oh gosh, I left my purse. I better. Oh wait, what's this in the office next door? I'm just gonna open the front door of this office because apparently people leave their office buildings, open. I don't know. Maybe 1960s New York was super safe except for supervillains. Um, but either way, she just like walks into the office and it's like, oh my, oh my, there's goons in here. And I like the owl's response is just a girl. Like obviously he's the dude from the letters column that you just read. He's like, oh, kidnapper. So he grabs Karen and he makes Daredevil like stand down, and he captures them both. He takes them back to the owlery. I'm going to call it the owlery. Um,
Nice.
yeah, and he puts them in these like giant human-sized bird cages, and he leaves them there. He goes and sits. He goes and sits on a tree branch overlooking, like, I don't know, the harbor or the river or whatever. My New York geography is very lacking. I've never been to the Big
Yeah.
Apple. I've only seen it in maps. I know that there's Manhattan and that there's a river here and a river here, and one of them's the East River and one of them's the Hudson. That's all I know. I'm pretty sure there's bays and there's harbors and all kinds of other stuff, but that's all I know. So I don't know if he's looking at like one of the rivers or what, but he's like perched on a branch owl style. I love it. He's like just steering hard into his persona. It's so great. Either way, Daredevil escapes and then he rescues Karen Page. I like that he uses his because he's blind, he's got super strength. So he just like bends these steel bars and gets out and then like bends them back. And then he does the same thing for Karen. He just bends the bars and he's like, "Come on, doll, let's get out of here." And they escape. He puts Karen in a car, makes her drive away, but then he's accosted by the owl, and the owl like throws him down. I don't know, like a sewer drain that washes out into the bay or the river or whatever. And as Daredevil's out there, then the owl like jumps into a speedboat and like he tries to swim away, but Daredevil like punches the boat and makes it capsize. And then he can't detect the owl, so he assumes the owl's dead or gone. And then the police arrive somehow. I guess Karen called the police. She drove the car across the river. and like they're on an island, but somehow she manages to like drive across the bay in her car that she's in and call the police, and they arrive and they arrest the other two goons. And yeah, that's the third issue of Daredevil. A lot of silly stuff happens in that one, but I love it, man. Like first owl, it's really great. Um, I love the owl. He's so cool. I want more of the owl.
Yeah, this it sounds silly and stuff, and it is, but it's fun,
Yeah,
right? It's a fun issue. Um, the owl is a fun character. Like he's got so much expression. He laughs and has so much fun, like torturing these people. I could see like I'm surprised he's not a bigger character than what he is, because he gets like so much enjoyment. And then he's like in court and stuff. He's just kind of like he's like bored, but he just loves torturing people. He laughs, I think, more than I've noticed any of these other bad guys. That's it is a fun issue.
yeah. It's really good. I really like that one. Way better than issue two, where he's goes to space. Oh,
Yeah,
it's so dumb.
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, the stories are a little hit miss here. I believe the next one's another good one, right?
Yes, this next one. So we're gonna start the tradition now of Daredevil getting his own rogues gallery, and this this next issue introduces perhaps my second favorite Daredevil villain. Definitely my favorite villain of all of the Netflix series. And yeah, I love this guy. And that is the Purple Man. So here comes Daredevil, the man without fear. Number four, first introduction of the Purple Man. The world calls him the Purple Man. And it's a cool cover. And then as soon as you get to the very first page of the issue, the outstanding duo of Joe Orlando and Vince Coletta strike again with some very subpar artwork. Like this is bad.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
It's not great.
it's not good. I do like the
Yeah,
way they
it's not
draw the
good.
Purple Man though. Like the Purple Man is like I don't know if he's supposed to be young like Matt. I think Matt like is 22 years old in these early issues. Like Matt and Foggy, like they're fresh out of college and they've started their law firm. I don't know because I guess law school
He's
is like graduate school. It's not undergrad, so they're probably like 26, 25 or 26
yeah.
probably.
They're supposed to be young. Sometimes they're not consistent. I don't think with their
Yeah.
appearance. It's tough.
Yeah, but they're like fresh out of law school. Like these dudes are green in their practice. Like they're the youngest you can be and still have completed all of your education to take the bar and pass it, right? So they're not like
Mhm.
40-year-old dudes. Like they are in their mid 20s at most. And the way they draw the Purple Man, like this dude looks like a 50-year-old man. Well, I guess back in the 60s when you were like 32, you looked 50. So the Purple
Yeah.
Man's probably like 30 years old, but he looks he looks like an old man.
You know, at the very least, Orlando, everyone looks different.
Yeah.
Everyone's got a little different personality. Like you see Purple Man next to Matt, and it's not like he just added some different lines. Like the entire face looks different. You know, the his ears are much bigger. He's got like different ears, nose, mouth. It's yeah, it's much different. Like he tried there, right?
Yeah. I mean, if we're gonna throw a compliment Joe Orlando's way, then yeah, like he's drawing different people. Like that's one of my biggest complaints with like so many of the popular artists from like the 90s or the to the 2000s is they every face is the same. Like I love the late Michael Turner. I don't think there's anyone better than him. And if you look at all of his male characters, they have the same jaw, they have the same nose,
Mhm.
they have the same eyebrows, same bone structure. They look a little different. Like Batman and Superman, they look a little different. Like they both have black hair, they both have blue eyes, they square jaws and everything, but they look a little bit different, but they still look the same. Like you're looking at them and you're like, yeah, these guys are brothers that are like a
Mhm.
year apart. Like same parents because they've got the
Yeah.
same genes and they look the
Yeah.
same, a little bit different. And then you throw in like Hal Jordan and you're like, he looks just like Bruce and Clark, only he's got brown hair. Um, and then like same thing with since you're a big Bendis guy, one of Bendis's favorite collaborators is Finch.
Yeah.
I'm forgetting his first name, and I feel stupid.
David?
David Finch, I think. Yeah, thank you. Okay, we both said David. That must be it. But if you look at the way he draws characters, every male character has the same face
Mhm.
and every female character has the same face. Like the way he draws Storm and the way he draws Elektra and the way he draws Mary Jane, they all look the same with different colored hair. If you look at how he draws like Colossus and Spider-Man and Matt Murdock, they all have the same face. So yeah, it's a little refreshing going back to like the 60s when the artists at least did try to have unique looking characters. We got way off topic there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's all right. I welcome it. You need a break from some of this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, so jumping back in, the very first page is like it's Daredevil standing on like a street corner, and everyone is mad at him, and we don't know why. And I think there's something in here that's like turn the page to find out why, or something like that. Yeah, it's Daredevil, and he's like, I'm surrounded by a hostile crowd. Why do they hate me? And then we're about to find out why. So we're taken into a bank, and we see this dude who is literally purple. He's wearing purple clothes. He's got purple blue skin, and he's got purple eyes, purple hair. Everything about this guy is purple. And he walks into the bank, and he tells the bank teller, like, "Hey, give me some of that money. You want to give me all the money in your till?" And the guy's like, "Heck yeah, I do. Here you go." And he walks out, and he's walking down the street before the teller is like, "Hey, wait a minute, that guy just he just robbed me." So he sounds the alarm. The police come out and they're like, "Hey, like you can't rob the bank," and they take him to court. And yeah, then we go to the law offices of Nelson and Murdoch. So I guess um, Matt has been appointed the public defender for the Purple Man. And when Matt arrives, he takes Karen with him, probably because Karen's like, "You can't walk there alone, Matt. You're blind and you'll fall down and you'll take a tumble," or something like that, probably. Um, and when they get there, the Purple Man is like he's taken in by her beauty because Karen Page is an attractive woman. Probably you can't really tell from Joe Orlando's artwork, but you can assume that people think that. So he tells the cop like, "Hey, let me out, and you like come with me and all this," and and they do, and I think it takes Matt a minute to realize like, "Hey, wait a minute, that guy just like walked out of jail and all that." So he throws on his Daredevil costume. He goes to fight the Purple Man, and that's when the Purple Man like tells all the passersby on the street like, "Hey, fight this guy." And so like Daredevil's like, "Oh crap, like what am I supposed to do?" So he uh he tries to escape, which gives Kilgrave enough time to escape. And at that point he like the Purple Man and Karen, they go to a hotel, and he goes up to the penthouse and like tells the people like, "Hey, I'm gonna stay here now. You want me to stay here?" And they're like, "Yeah, we do." And then he hires like 50 goons as well. And yeah, eventually Daredevil is able to track him down. I'm looking at my notes. I'm like, yeah, I don't have anything here. Eventually, Daredevil is able to track him down, and he shows up at the hotel, and so he's fighting against Kilgrave and all of his goons and everything. And I the notes that I took are just abysmal for this issue. Um, yeah, like my notes cut out like pretty much all of the major stuff of the comp. Like the MPs are here and everything and all that. Like there's a lot of stuff going on. Um,
There,
like there's
yeah,
a whole
there
lot.
is. there's a lot of stuff going on. They go all over the place. It's just like all these every other issue. Like they take a tour through the whole city, right? Um, the Purple Man makes goes off with Karen, and he's gonna tell Karen to like jump off the building when when the that's when the MPs come in. We get like a flashback, and uh, Daredevil smacks the uh, the thing, his gun out of Kilgrave's hand with his cane, but he's got his own concealed tape recorder inside the thing. It's man, I don't know. You can't. It's tough to make sense of what we're saying, but it's also tough to make sense of this issue because they're they're all over the place.
Yeah, it's hard. Like I'm trying to flip through to keep track and make sure that my notes are on pace, and my notes are terrible. And then looking at the pictures, I'm like, I can't tell what's happening from all the pictures. But yeah,
It,
they're when they're on the rooftop, Daredevil is able to like goad Kilgrave into admitting the things that he like the crimes that he's told
yeah.
people to commit. And so yeah, Daredevil had that on a tape recorder that he has hidden in his cane. And then he is able to like grab a flag that's flapping and like throw that over Kilgrave. And that is enough to like dampen his power. Like, because I don't know if it's like you have to see Kilgrave or you have to be able to see him for his power to affect you, but he's able to like wrap him in this flag thing, and that like negates all of his powers. Like, so his powers are nullified, and then the police are able to like tie him up and take him away. And so, Daredevil saves the day, and and then, Karen and Daredevil go back to the office. Daredevil leaves. Matt Murdock shows up, and of course, Karen's like, "Oh, Matt, you wouldn't believe what happened to me, but luckily Daredevil was there to save the day." And Matt's like, "Oh, bummer. I'd fallen down in the street a couple blocks away, and I wasn't able to get myself up because I'm blind and worthless." Like,
Yeah. It's the it's weird. I wonder if like the Joe Orlando stuff, if he's not that bad of an artist, because you could flipping through as we're talking. I'm looking at the art more than I'm like reading it right now, right? Like
mm,
read it, and then it's the words, and the artwork is like second fiddle, and then as you're talking, I'm flipping through, and now the artwork's like first. Man, I swear this isn't the same artist. Like when he's comes out with the tape recorder, that's not that's either Joe Orlando or not Joe Orlando. I don't know who's drawing the rest of the comic, but that is not the same person that drew the Purple Man there. That is a totally different face. And then the next panel too, like somebody, I don't know, like there's a staff or something had there's like some kind of behind the scenes thing that's not right. Um, because there's no way that character looks totally different than the other than the rest of the issue. And then when you flip the page too, and Matt is making his escape with Karen down the scaffolding down the side of the building. Kilgrave is in the next panel, and that's a totally different face than what we got in the last page. Like it's so inconsistent, but like there's no way it could be the same artist. Like it's a totally different face. It's strange. But I
mm,
wonder if that's got something to do with the storytelling, because it's this issue is harder to follow than the last one. And like they went all over the place with the owl, but it was like a lot more straightforward, right?
yeah, yeah, like yeah, flipping through to try to bridge the gap in my notes, it was like, whoa, there's a whole lot of stuff going on. Like, I just
Yeah,
skipped all over this in my note, probably because I read it and then forgot that it all happened
yeah.
because it's like a lot
Now,
of stuff happens.
yeah, and to pull back the curtain, this was all stuff that we read a little while ago, but because of yours truly, we lost the video. This is the second time we are recording this. So So yeah, this stuff is a little bit less than fresh. So your notes were relying a lot more on your memory. But if my memory serves, I think we had even a hard time going through this the first time because there's so much that goes on. And we talked about paring stuff down because these descriptions of ours went on for so long because there's so much that happens.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I don't know. Um, even as kind of like all over the place as the Purple Man issue was, I think that it's still better than the Electro issue.
Oh, I agree. Like I think it's still like a good introduction to the Purple Man.
Hmm.
Like we get to see a lot of
Yeah.
different sides of him, um, and like how menacing he actually can be, which I think is really cool. Um, because the Purple Man from this point until like Bendis writes him as one of the main antagonists of Jessica Jones during Alias, the Purple Man is like relatively second fiddle. Like
Hmm.
he's like D tier, until I think Bendis gets to write him, and like
Yeah.
the Purple Man that Bendis wrote in Alias is exactly the Purple Man that we got, well, the Killgrave that we got in the Jessica Jones Netflix series. And like it's because of Killgrave in that series that like I rank Jessica Jones season 1 like probably in my top 3 of all of the individual Netflix series, just because of Killgrave. Like I think I like Killgrave even more than I liked Kingpin. And that's saying a lot
Yeah.
because I thought D'Onofrio's Kingpin was amazing, but
Hmm.
David Tennant just, oh my gosh, like what he brought to Killgrave was so terrifying. He was such a great villain. Like it was such a great performance, so scary, so good. Um, yeah, I don't. It was like this is what Purple Man should be in the comics, and he really only has been the one time in
Yeah.
Alias.
That was yeah, and Jessica Jones. That's I had like yeah a whole nother respect for the Purple Man after watching the series. Um, and yeah, man, he's like terrifying. It's it's wild, like that y that he doesn't that it took like that series that it took Alias whatever to realize how terrifying somebody with like mind control can be. It
Mhm.
was yeah, I don't know why like he languished unused for 30 years or whatever, right?
Mhm.
40 years um or longer. Jesus, my math is off. But yeah, this it's not a bad introduction um to an absolutely terrifying character.
Yes. Yeah, they kind of play him off more as like hokey. But
Yeah.
like even in this issue, there's some pretty scary stuff. He can turn crowds against you. He can literally walk into a bank or tell the police to let him go. Like he can do all of these things. They don't really lean into as villainous and as scary as he can be. They're just kind of like, what would a guy who wants money do if he had these powers? Like, oh, he would just walk into the bank and be
Yeah.
like, hey, give me all the money in the till. And if he doesn't want to be
Well,
in prison, he'll just say, "Hey, let me go." But they don't
yeah.
like the I don't yeah, I don't know. Purple Man
I think
is
that
terrifying.
the terrifying aspect of it, I think with the other stuff, especially for me, it was like the TV show hit more than the comics because like than the Bendis comics because you saw you saw like the mental anguish or whatever like the characters went through after coming out of the spell, like how much it affected them.
Mhm.
And maybe like for me maybe it like rings a bell like the only thing I could imagine the closest I think I can get to that or relate to that is like like being like robbed, right? Or like your car gets ransacked or something, someone breaks into your house and you like feel violated, right? Because somebody whatever they took maybe they didn't take any like they just took some personal belongings, but like the violation that these people feel after he took like their willpower or whatever, right? It's like and you see it on the screen that's like that's the terrifying part. I think, at least for me, it's like, oh God, it like it gives you the heebie-jeebies, right?
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah. And speaking of villains who are portrayed as relatively hokey, that takes us into our next Daredevil issue. The last one that I'm covering today, before I turn it over to you to get through. But this is Daredevil number 5, and we are being introduced to the mysterious masked matador. And this guy sucks. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, this issue is not even as good as the Electro issue. Just yeah, but we have a new artist on this book. So it starts off. There's a note here. It says personal note. Marvel wants to personally thank Bill Everett and Joe Orlando and Vince Coletta for helping us launch the most successful new feature of the year. And they go on and have all these nice things to say about him and all that. And then it says, and now we found him, with no further ado, we announce our newest creative team, Stan Lee, writer, Wallace Wood, illustrator. So we are now in the what will be the very short-lived Wally Wood era of Daredevil. And it's like already a marked improvement over the Orlando and Coletta team. I don't know who's inking. It doesn't say on
I think it's
on
just
mine.
Wally Wood.
Oh, he's just drawing and inking himself. Nice. Okay.
I think so.
Yeah, they just have Illustrator. So yeah, you're probably right. He's probably drawing and inking his own stuff, which I guess would explain why it's like much more crisp and clean. Um, it's not as good as what we're going to get here real soon, but I do think it's a big step up from Joe Orlando, and I dig the artwork here, even if I don't necessarily love the character that they're introducing. But I'm just gonna like go through this one relatively quickly. Daredevil encounters the Matador, and he fights him and loses right away. Um, and then after that, we have Karen Page going to a costume party, and she takes Matt Murdock with her. She's actually dressed as Cleopatra. Foggy's supposed to come meet her later, dressed as I don't, Julius Caesar. I'm messing up my history. Alex the Great. I don't know. He's dressing as someone, and so he's going to meet them later. So Matt Murdock takes Karen there, I guess, so that she arrives safely. And while they're at this party, Matt recognizes one of the people at the party is the Matador, and the Matador at this costume party, he's like literally opening the safe that's on the wall. And so he says to Karen, like, gee whiz, Karen, if someone were here dressed as the Matador, I bet he would be robbing that safe over on the wall. And then one of the partygoers hears that and looks at the safe and is like, holy crap, the Matador's here and he's breaking into the safe. It's so dumb. But then Karen like pushes Matt into a closet. Matt puts on his Daredevil costume. He fights the Matador. He loses again. And now word is out that that Daredevil sucks and that Matador is the cool new guy in town. So all the children in the neighborhood are dressing up as the Matador and they're beating Daredevil. And it's really making Matt Murdock very sad. Like he's really broken up about all this. And so he begins to research who the Matador could be. And somehow he comes across, I don't know, microfiche. Was that a thing in the 60s? I don't know. But he's looking up all of these like international sports articles. And he comes across an article about this Matador in Spain who I guess got injured, and people turned against him. I forget what it was. It was like he killed the bull, and everyone was like tired of his brutality, so they turned against him, and then he got hurt, and now he's like they turned against me, and now I will, I don't destroy mankind or something. I don't something like that.
You're like right on nailed it right on the head. Yeah.
It's it's a 60s villain. Anyway, Daredevil is able to determine that his name is Manuel Elegante, and I'm assuming if that's not a false cognate, that his like it means elegant. I don't know. And so Matt's like, I have an idea. So he calls a press conference at 11 p.m. And he's like, "Hey, this is Matt Murdock from Nelson and Murdock, and get all your news crews down here because I'm going to reveal the identity of the Matador." And he tells them that the Matador is Daredevil. And so the Matador hears this news report and thinks to himself, like, this is ridiculous. He goes to Nelson and Murdoch. Daredevil's there. They fight. Daredevil lures him to a rooftop and is able to use like a weather vane to spin over the cape. I don't know what a matador cape is called. I'm sure it has a name. Um, but he like the matador's like, Toro, and so that's how he's beaten Daredevil twice. He's gotten Daredevil to jump into his cape, and then he beats him. And so this time Daredevil jumps over the cape, grabs a weather vane, and like acrobatic spins around, kicks the matador in the back or whatever, knocks him down, ties him up probably with his own cape, and then the police come and arrest him. And then all the children throw their matador costumes away. And Karen Page even tells Matt, like, they're walking down the street. She sees a dark alley with trash cans, and they're all filled to the brim with children's matador costumes. And she gets a tear in her eye, and she's like, "Oh, Matt, it's beautiful. The children have all thrown away their matador costumes, and they love Daredevil again." And Matt's like, "Nice." And that's the issue.
That's I love how I forgot all about it in the Spider-Man issue. But Matt's got horns on his head, so of course he's got to charge the Matador, right?
Oh
I,
no. Oh
I
geez.
think I think that's how they came up with the Matador. Like it was. I think that's the birth of the Matador. Well, he's got horns on his head. What else? Like it's a perfect fit, right?
Uh,
Matt just couldn't help himself but try to charge through that red cape. It's ridiculous.
just
It reminded me the Spider-Man issue. Matt, dude, you got to read it or you got to go back over it because to beat some of the ringmaster's goons, he rolls himself up into a ball like he's Sonic the Hedgehog and rolls right through him.
oh, that's great.
I swear to God, you gotta read it. It's awesome. Yeah. Um, that's funny. Yeah. Thanks for going. I'm not gonna say anything more other than the horns.
Karen makes for a one foxy Cleopatra, and
Yes.
her hairstyle is new.
Yes.
She's got the Gwen Stacy hair now. She doesn't have the like young Peggy
Yeah.
Hill haircut that she had when Joe was drawing. Now she's got like the shorter, like Gwen Stacy hair, and it's like, hey, all right, now like Matt he's drawn as a good looking dude, and Karen's drawn as like a good looking chick, and like even Foggy, like he's rocking the Centurion costume. Like they're all like
Yeah.
attractive young 20 somethings now, and it's like, all right, Wally,
Yes.
something's
Yeah.
better.
She's smoking hot, man. Yeah. Yeah. She looks good. Um, yeah, I think that's enough on the Matador. I don't know if he ever returns.
I
I
hope
hope
not.
he. Oh, I hope he does. I hope he returns like in the Annocenti run somewhere. I know he doesn't return with Miller, but hopefully we get him again. I don't want to waste all this time reading about his origin and stuff to never do anything with it again.
Fair enough.
I'm surprised Bendis didn't do it. He seems like he'd be right up Bendis's alley. Uh, so, um, all right, I'll pick up with Daredevil number 6, February of '65, The Fellowship of Fear. We get it's illustrated in a magnificently modern manner of Wally Wood, and we get confirmation with that S. Rosen. It is Sam Rosen.
Nailed
Yeah.
it.
Yes. I can sleep tonight. Uh, um, we get the introduction of the ox through here. This is so the Fellowship of Fear. It's who's their leader? Their leader is this I don't know, doofus of a guy, but we get all of
Mr.
his
Fear.
Mr. Fear. We get all these
Mr. Fear, yeah.
cronies. Yeah, Fellowship of Fear is led by Mr. Fear, right? Uh, so we get the ox. We get his introduction. We get the eel. Uh, Daredevil uses the eel's greasy hands against him, but then he slips away. I got a note here that Daredevil turned coward. He also turned chicken when fighting him. I wish I would have remembered what was a better. I'm sure there was a line of dialogue here that was pretty good that I made a note of. They're filming something here, right? That's the idea of their caper, is that they like staged a film crew. I think they hired a film crew to do something, right? But it was actually a robbery.
Yep.
That's how they're trying to get away with it. And we get Mr. Fear's origin, where where he owns a fledgling wax museum. He's also a mad scientist, of course. His kitty cat knocks over a beaker, and that's how we get his fear gas. He makes a costume and decides he needs lackeys. He gets I have Diablo, Craven, Doom, Zemo. No, they're all too powerful or clever for him. So that's why he settles on the ox and the eel.
At least he knows
Yeah.
his place, you know.
Yes. Yes, he does. He's not dumb. Um, he finds the eel in a sewer. Like that's where he discovers him. I don't know. I don't remember how he found him there, but he did. So they, I, I've Daredevil tracks him down. Daredevil, he gets to the wax museum where the eel and the ox are pretending to be wax statues. They come to life and try to jump Daredevil. Um, he fights them off. He fights off the fear gas. Foggy was there. I don't remember why Foggy was there. I'm sorry. I'm failing at
It's
this.
it's all right. He's probably serving papers or something, you know.
Yeah, probably. Now they're going through uh Mr. Fear's going back through his wax museum, his wax whatever, and Daredevil's there. I don't know if maybe he had a statue of Daredevil. He must have, and Matt must have like thrown it away and stood there in place of it because Mr. Fear and his lackeys walk right by him, and Daredevil now springs to life. He pulls the same gag that they pulled, uh, and then he ends up defeating them. There's a handful of pages of fights. We see the ox. He goes through. He knocks over all the wax people, and you see like all the Marvel characters. So we know it all takes place in the same universe, right? We get Ant-Man, a couple of X-Men. We don't know which X-Men they are. They both kind of look like they could be Cyclops, but Green Goblin, Mr. Fantastic. Maybe that's Johnny Storm. I don't know, but that's about it. That's the end. They fight, and that's it. Foggy is in the hospital. He comes out. He's got his head wrapped up in a bandage. That's it. There's I don't know. Not
No,
much to it. The biggest thing I think with this issue. No, that was last issue where we get the double D on his chest. Yeah,
oh yeah.
nothing.
Introduced with Wally Wood. Yeah, totally missed that.
Yeah.
Now, does this appearance of the ox Does it predate any of his appearances in Amazing Spider-Man as part of the Enforcers?
I don't know.
Hmm.
That's a good question.
Yeah, I don't remember how early the Enforcers show up in Amazing Spider-Man. I know it's relatively early, but I don't remember. What is it? It's Montana, Ox, and Fancy Dan, I think, are the Enforcers.
Man, you're stumping me there. I don't know that. Well, I don't know. In the Overstreet price guide that I have here, it just says for number 6, it doesn't say first appearance. It just says a Mr. Fear appearance. So it's
Hmm.
not even the first appearance of Mr. Fear.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, yeah. That Electro appearance that we got in number 2 was the second appearance of Electro
Oh, wow.
for what that's worth. Yeah.
Oh, wait. There's a note here for, okay, so there's a, on page 3, that when he first punches Ox, um, Daredevil thinks to himself, it was like hitting a stone wall. He's the real Ox, one of the notorious enforcers.
Mm,
He must have been paroled before the others, and then it says last seen in
yeah.
Spider-Man 14. So there we go.
Okay. Yeah. There we are.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
I like this issue. I think it's better than the Matador issue. Um, some
Yeah.
silly stuff going on, but it's cool.
Yeah. It's fun. It's fun. There's not much to it. It's just like a nice little standalone issue. Um, I kind of flew through it. I don't remember much from it. My notes were just kind of more. This is another one of those where I was relying more on my memory at the time than I was on actual note taking. And yeah, it's not a bad issue. It's fun. The artwork's nice. Um, yeah, I
Karen
guess
doesn't nag Matt about eye surgery. Now she just
no.
silently thinks about how much she loves him instead.
Yes, yeah, yeah. It's yeah, it's not bad. There's no arguing, no fights with them. It's an alright issue. It's good.
Yeah.
So we'll move on to the best issue we have of Daredevil. Um, up to date and maybe even for the foreseeable future. I don't know. I love this issue.
Wow.
Daredevil number 7 with he's Daredevil battles the Submariner. For the longest time, I used to think it was the Submariner. Um,
Nice.
I kind of still like saying the Submariner, but we get Stan Lee, Wally Wood, and Artie Semick as the letterer. I think that's the first time we see him. We get Prince Namor is persuaded to reclaim the surface world by I think one of his generals. He won't use, however, though he won't use force. Instead, he'll use the court system. He arrives in New York City. He walks down the street in his banana hammock. Um, and he proclaims that any lawyer will do. So he picks a random building, but gets stumped by the revolving door. What manner of door is this? I cannot fathom its purpose. And he just like smashes through it. Uh, no matter. I shall pay for whatever damage I do at some later date. It's great. He doesn't understand how an elevator works. He rips open the door and just pulls the elevator down. Um, it's awesome. Matt Murdock tells him that there's no he jumps into the thing and he wants to engage a lawyer. He tells him what he wants. He demands our rightful place on the surface of Earth. I wish to sue the entire human race for depriving us of our birthright. Matt,
What a villain.
Matt tells him there's no yeah. Matt tells him there's no precedence, and he'll get laughed out of court. Uh, Namor doesn't like that. He'll use force instead. Namor gets arrested, and Matt represents him. The proceedings will take a week. Namor can't wait, so he breaks out and goes on a rampage. It's it's all like Namor. He's a reasonable guy, Like he's willing to go a little bit, but not like I can't wait a week. Um, and I think he can't wait a week because he knows like his general's just gonna like take over take over the throne. Um, so he breaks out and goes on a rampage, like a rampage down, I don't know, down the streets of New York. Man, he's fighting the military. I think there's even a tank that comes through. It's wild. Uh, Daredevil fights him almost to his death, but the Submariner comments on how he's fought the Fantastic Four and the Avengers, and none have been more courageous than this man. Out of respect for that, he will not injure any humans, and he walks off. That is a very much abbreviated version of this story. It's amazing. Namor, he fights the military. He there's pictures of him like knocking down colonnades, whatever they are. He's I, he does all kinds of stuff. There's tanks. He's like destroying tanks. There's military trucks. I don't know why these tanks are in New York City, where they came from, but yeah, he's flying with his little winged feet. There's a bulldozer, or well, not a bulldozer, a wrecking ball that can't stop. He gets hit with a wrecking ball. He can't stop him. There's one of the crane things that kids play with that drops like a pile of rocks on them. That doesn't do anything. Matt takes electricity from the light pole and electrocutes him, but that doesn't even stop him. Like, it's amazing. It's really I don't know. I love this issue, man. It's a really good issue. It's this is what really sells you on Matt's toughness, on his like inability to quit. This is the first inklings we get of uh of Matt Murdock, of like what he comes to be, like the Matt Murdock we see on the Netflix series, the one that's battered and bruised and can't rest, right?
Yeah, he's he's taken on the mantle, and now it's battling Matt Murdock now. Like this, that he got this from his dad. This I'm not ever gonna give up. I'm gonna keep punching until I can't punch anymore. Um, yeah, that's a good point about this issue, because unlike you, I don't love this issue. I'm not a big Namor guy, and I find Namor to be just so tiresome because it's always the same thing with him. Every issue that he's in, every series, it's always this like so ridiculously over the top, like I'm the most important thing that's ever existed type deal, like just his general demeanor and attitude. So I find this issue to be exhausting, just
Huh.
the constant Namor. But yeah, like all the stuff that you're pointing out about Matt Murdock, like it was Daredevil fighting Namor, but it was really Matt Murdock not quitting against Namor that really is at the heart of this issue. So that's awesome. And one other thing that I want to say about this issue is I'm a big um, like military plane guy. In addition to like baseball and the few things that you know about me, one thing I like to do is read books and watch documentaries about military planes. And you're mentioning these tanks, and like I don't know tanks and stuff like that. I don't know cars and all that. But on page 8, the very last panel, there's like an aircraft carrier, and they've scrambled some jets, and these are like F-86s, which was the Air Force's like first supersonic jet powered fighter. Um, yeah, big fan of the F-86 Saber jet. So I'm like seeing those. I'm like, ooh, yay! Like this is
Uh-huh.
cool. They got Saber jets
Nice.
going on. Like that's awesome.
Yeah, that's cool. I uh I haven't read a lot of Namor, but the bits I do read, I love him because I love how like impatient and like how arrogant and how he feels like, fine, I'll do it the right way. And then it's like, no, that's I don't have time for that. I just
Immediately.
yes. Yeah.
Like
Oh,
immediately.
I gave you a chance. This
Yeah.
is your fault. You're doing it to yourself.
Oh
it's
man.
it's awesome. I have I won't talk about it here because it's I'll hint to it, but I have uh you know me, and I guess I talk about this more than I ever thought I would, but the Faust, um the artist behind that, well, man, I'm drawing a blank on his name, but he draws some dirty stuff, and I want to commission him to draw like a blank cover, a blank Fantastic Four cover with Prince Namor and Mr. and Mrs. Richards, and I got a filthy idea I think he'd be great for. That would fit Namor's character perfectly. Um, one of these days I'll get to it. Yeah, we on a lighter, more family-friendly note, we get the biggest thing other than Matt Murdock's personality shining through. We get Red Suit Daredevil. This is the first appearance of Red Suit,
Yay. Yes.
right? Um, yeah, and one of I was gonna say one of the longest running. It's probably like the one of the longest running suits um, that we get like throughout the history. Like it's consistently unchanged, right?
Yeah, I mean like this is the suit for the next 30 years until we get the weird armored 90s suit. Like it's this is it. This is the iconic suit. And then even then, like that short-lived 90s suit goes away, and we get this suit for like another 2 decades, you know? I think Matt has a suit now that's like black with red highlights. Um, I think that's what he's wearing in the current run. Or maybe it was the Soul run where he was wearing the black kind of with like just red letters and horns and stuff. But yeah, like this is it, man. Like this is the Daredevil suit. You don't need to add anything. You don't need to take anything away. It's super simple and it's perfect. This is a perfect suit. Like it's the one thing that I didn't like about the Netflix series is when he finally gets the suit, there's too much like black, there's too much like armory stuff. I'm like, nah, just put him in the Ben Affleck suit. That was beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, right. Um, yeah, it's great. It's great looking. So the next issue here, we moving on. We've got Daredevil number 8, soaring to the still greater heights of glory. We got Daredevil versus the Stilt Man. The Stilt Man cometh. That I love this cover, man. We get some great Daredevil covers, don't we? So here we get Daredevil's. It starts off with action. Great first page where this woman's just screaming. There's a car barreling down on her, and Matt Murdock yells, "Keep screaming! Don't stop screaming!" It's the only way I can pinpoint her position above the roar of the speeding car. It's awesome, right?
What he
Um,
should have yelled is, "Get out of the way!" Like the lady's got legs. She like,
I
uh,
I think she just wanted to be saved by Daredevil, man.
No.
That is a foxy looking woman there too. Uh, and so then we get across town. We've got Stiltman, who is like, I don't know how tall he is, but he is trying to rob a helicopter transporting, I think it was bank money or whatever. But he's up there and he's just like, halt, stop flying. Like I'm sure the helicopter could just as easily like just fly around him.
Just
Like
fly. Yeah.
it's it's not like there's traffic. I never understood that, like with Jetsons or like the Star Wars movies where like all these like lanes of traffic are just what what stops them from just going anywhere? There's no there's nothing, right? It's strange. But man, what a visual. And we get like Stillman's like towering above these buildings. It's awesome. So cool. The guy just hands over the money to Stiltman and he goes to walk off with it and he turns the corner. Daredevil catches up to him, right? He probably swings across a couple of flagpoles that must have been off panel because I'm flipping through and I don't see any to add. Uh, but as and we get an exploded view of Daredevil's cane, which is awesome. I love this stuff. Like it's like the stuff we would get in comics from here and there, right? We get the spring-loaded stuff, the cable, a little switch, a hinge. Like it's awesome how much thought they put into this. Um, so he's chasing down the Stiltman. Stiltman turns a corner and then he's gone. Daredevil can't keep up, right? Um, we're in court. Daredevil's Matt Murdocks doing something. We get like an exploded view of Matt Murdock's living quarters where he's got his gym and stuff. It's great. Like they're giving you a little bit more. You know, like you've been reading Daredevil now for 8 months. Yeah, we'll give you're asking some questions, right? How does this Billy Club work? Of course, it's spring loaded. Here's your button. How's he stay in shape? Well, he's got the trapeze he learned about from that Spider-Man issue. Here it is. He's got some kind of recorder built into his mask and stuff, right? He's got all this stuff. Um, the next thing we know, Stiltman is robbing a party with a vacuum cleaner. It's awesome. I think I spoke too fast. I think this might be the best issue, man. Stiltman is awesome. I'm beginning to realize why it's. Do you ever listen to a little tangent? And I know I'm not keeping this short, right? But do you ever listen to the podcast Off Panel with David Harper?
I think you've sent me a few episodes to listen to, but no, I wouldn't say that I've listened to it regularly or anything.
All right, his favorite character is the Stilt Man. Um, and I can see why. Man, he's fun. Why aren't we? Maybe we can get him in the MCU. Wouldn't it be awesome? We've got all these other characters. Stiltman would be fun. This is
Yes.
yeah, this is great. Like the cops are trying to chase down Stiltman, and he just like raises up his leg. Daredevil goes to jump at him, and then he just kind of shrinks down a little bit. uh, he's like, "Farewell, Daredevil. Even you were no match for Stiltman." And Daredevil, like he's thinking to himself, "It can't end like this. It just can't." And I imagine, I don't have it because I'm looking at this reprint, but I imagine like that's got to be a page turn where like you got a double page like bubblegum ad or something. It's perfect for that. And but he attaches he runs his cable around the leg. Stiltman's going off. It's so it's so much fun. This is a fun issue. But there's this so what ends up happening is there was somebody that was it's scientists that were suing I think one was suing the other for stealing his ideas. It was, of course, the Stiltman legs. They come across him. Matt brings them to the house, or the guy brings Matt to his house, to his employer's house. He ends up karate chopping them. There's a couple karate chops that happen, and we go into the lab. Now this guy takes his legs back, and Daredevil's chasing this guy down. This guy's walking over stuff. It's a fun issue with these crazy legs. Daredevil took when he was in that lab, he took a shrink gun, a shrinking gun, I think, and that's how you defeat the Stilt Man, right? Is you shrink him down, and he just continued to shrink down to nothing. So we're left there. I don't know what happens to how the Stilt Man comes back, but maybe he's in the where maybe he's in the quantum verse now or something. I don't know if that existed back then.
Yeah, he's hanging out with Janet.
Yeah, yeah, but that's yeah. I think you do a better job. Your notes are better than mine. I don't do I, I don't do nearly as good a job as you do summarizing this stuff.
Oh
But
wait, these are great.
this is a fun issue. If I'm ranking the first 8, this is 2 or 3
Yeah,
on my list.
I think I could agree with that. This one was fun. Like I didn't know what to expect going in because it's like, all right, Stilt Man, like this guy's dumb. This is gonna be stupid. And it was actually a really fun issue. Also on page 10, we get a flagpole, so our tally's up to at least 3. Um, and then we do have more Karen nagging Matt again about the surgery for his eyes, like at the very end, like on the very last page. Um, she brings it up again. He says like it's risky. She calls him a coward. And then she says, sometimes I think you just hide behind your handicap. Like, wow.
Yeah, this is I guess they went too many issues without having the yelling melodrama, right?
hmm So they had to have a
Yeah.
big blow up. It's not like she didn't mention it in passing. Like, just a
No.
straight up, like, she's throwing the C word around. Like, he's, this is a big one.
Yeah. Yeah. And we'll get to that surgery next issue.
Yep.
Yeah. Um, but that will be for the next episode, right?
That's right. Yeah, we are done for this episode reviewing, well, recapping, not really reviewing, recapping uh Daredevil,
I
early
think
Daredevil.
it's a combination, man. We're a combo show, reviewing and recapping. Um, we're giving our reviews. We're telling people how much we dislike the artwork and love the storytelling. Loving the artwork in parts. The introduction of these characters and stuff. It's cool. First 8 issues. All right.
Yeah, I think you might be right about Stan Lee. Through these first 8 issues, he has been the stronger of the stronger piece of the creative teams. Like it's his storytelling that's driving these issues, and they're surprisingly a lot more fun than I was expecting. Like, because I think in the last episode I had mentioned that I've read like the greatest hits, all the major milestones of Daredevil for the last like 20 years, like all the major stuff there, plus all the Miller stuff. I've not read like hardly any of 60s and 70s Daredevil. And I have been surprised at how much I've enjoyed these first 8. I think I've actually read so far like the first 15 of these Daredevil issues, and like they're surprisingly good. And Stan Lee has been like the stronger piece of these creative teams. So I'm surprised.
Yeah, yeah, he's holding it together for it, right? Yeah. Um, I'm looking forward to going further. There's some decent stuff coming up, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think in the next 8 issues, give or take, that we cover, I think there's going to be some good stuff in there.
Yeah, cool. Um, so yeah, I think that's it. We'll wrap it up here. We're well over. I don't know where we stood the first time we recorded our second episode. But I think we're around that same minute mark. I I think that's not too bad, right? Not too shabby. So if you want to get a hold of us and you send emails still, I don't know how many people do. You don't feel like writing a comment and being public, or maybe you're listening to us on one of those pod catchers or whatever people call them. I don't know. You can get a hold of us at castwithoutfear@gmail.com or drop us a line in the comments, and I promise I will like the comment. Don't forget to smash that like button. Uh, Hit that subscribe button if you want to get the constant updates. Share with your friends. It all helps the algorithms. I'm going to say everything that I hear everybody else say. What
They're
did I miss anything?
Yeah, they're always like, click up here to see this other video, and click down, click down here, and all this stuff. Whatever.
You're calling me out, man. I don't know how to do any of that stuff. I know how to like a comment. I don't know how to yeah, up here. Uh, I'm gonna have to learn that now. Thanks. All right, that's it for me. If you wanna see me elsewhere, I don't know, watch the last episode. If you wanna catch up with Ryan, you could check out his podcast. His uh his podcast is Talking Snicked. You can find that anywhere you find podcasts, right? I listen to it on Apple Podcasts. I don't know. I think you could probably listen to it on Spotify, somewhere
Yep.
else, right?
Yeah, pretty much everywhere you get
Sure.
pods, you can find Talkin' Snicked. So Talkin' Snicked, the Wolverine show, um, there's like 100 episodes of Talkin' Snicked. I've also done like a sister series that I release on Saturdays called Saturday Morning Snicktoons, where I'm going through the X-Men animated series, one episode at a time. And yeah, just if you like Wolverine and if you like X-Men, then check out Talkin' Snicked. Everything is X related, but not X rated.
It's a family friendly show.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes, for sure. All right, man. Nice nice talking with you. We'll catch up again next week, right?
for sure.
Cool. Thanks.